Ortiz is now called to order. Mr. Gonzalez, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, Madam President. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. At this time, to establish quorum, I will conduct roll call. Ms. Hilda Martinez, Vice President, present. Dr. Hector Alvarez, Secretary, present. Ms. Glenna Purcell, Trustee, present. Mr. Rudy Bowles, Trustee, present. Mr. Jorge Barrera, Trustee, present. Mr. Christopher Hiller, Trustee, present. Mr. Gilberto Gonzalez, Superintendent, present. Mr. Richard Strieber, Attorney, present, and myself, Lupita Fuentes, President, present. Next, we have citizens' communications and recognitions, and we do not have anyone signed up to address the board at this time, so we'll continue with item 1, recognition of Memorial Junior High School 8th grade students that were accepted in the GeoForce program.
Good evening, Madam President, distinguished members of the board, and of course, Superintendent Gonzalez. Thank you for allowing me to spend some time with you this evening. Our first guest in honor is in honor of the Memorial Junior High students that have been accepted into GeoForce. GeoForce is a K-12 outreach program from the University of Texas and Jackson School of Geoscience. It is designed to increase the number of students pursuing STEM degrees in college and moving on to very rewarding careers. The future is very bright for these future geoscientists. At this time, let's give a round of applause to our Maverick geoscientists. I invite the board and Mr. Gonzalez to come forward for pictures. It has been a great year to be a Graves Tiger. After a season of hard work and dedication, the Tiger Division I baseball team is champions. These boys left it out all on the field. Give it up for your Tigers. Continuing with our Tiger Fever, we would like to give a great big round of applause to the Lady Tiger Division III softball team and their awesome efforts on the diamond this season. They are joining the boys as fellow champions. Congratulations, Lady Tigers, on your Division III win. I have also been informed to announce that while the champions have only a few representing them, it is because it's still baseball and softball season, guys. So they're out there playing right now. So a round of applause for everyone in the heat today. Inspections have been conducted on a daily, weekly basis on how well EPISD school grounds have been maintained. There have been visitations to not only school campuses, but district buildings as well. This month's recommendation goes out to Rosita Valley Elementary on their merits for an outstanding job on maintaining the school grounds clean and safe. Thanks to the hard work and dedication from the Roadrunners, the school achieved a total score of 64 out of 65, the highest thus far. Congratulations, Roadrunners, on your campus beautification. On behalf of EPISD, we would like to recognize the City of Eagle Pass Public Works for an outstanding job for seeing the various projects concerning the safety of our students. Working hand in hand with EPISD, the Public Works have been a great help and an outstanding resource. One of the most recent projects we applaud is the creation of the sidewalk walkway from EPHS across to the softball complex. Thank you, City of Eagle Pass Public Works, for all you are doing to ensure our students' safety. For that, we applaud and recognize you.
Okay, next we'll continue district reports and presentations. And we'll take the financial report, utility report, and the tax collection report at this time. Any questions from board members on any of the reports? Mr. Barrera?
I just have a comment that I'd like to ask Mr. Mijares. Can you explain a little bit, just go over a little bit on the funds that we have, please? There's a lot of misconceptions out there, and I'd like for you to kind of go over it.
Good evening, members of the board, Ms. Fuentes, Mr. Gonzalez. If you look at your agenda, and let's go to page 34. And what you see on page 34 is the information we provide to the board in December when the audit's approved by the school board, which we have to advertise also in the newspaper. The financial statements, we bring this to the board and the auditor presents this information, and then we send this information to TA. So this information is also in the TA website. It's public information, and it also goes through the PIMS information that we have to submit to TA. So all this is public information and is readily available on the website of our district and TA. So page 34, second column, let's look at the second column there. And let's look at the beginning fund balance where it says $25.8 million. Are we there?
Yes.
I just want to make sure you all follow me. That's a $25.8 million. That's a surplus of the fund balance that we had at the beginning of this fiscal year. As you see the first column, it's the same number, the very last number, 811,894, and then we just carry it forward as a beginning fund balance. Your ending fund balance becomes the beginning fund balance for the next fiscal year. Very basic information. So this year, we have a deficit of 6.6 million, so that brings it down to 19.1 million. It's not necessarily bad that we have a deficit, it's that we have special projects that the board decided to go ahead and do that comes from the TRE funds. Now, let's look at that breakdown, the $25.8 million, because I think it's very important for us to look at that breakdown, how it's broken up. On page 35, the following page, very simple, so you can see the breakdown. You're going to see that when you go to the grand total on the first column, you see the $25.8 million that we're talking about. Is everybody following me? And you're going to see the breakdown. First, we have to go with the general fund. $17.6 million is the general fund. That's what TA is going to look at, and you see at the bottom what the optimum fund balance is, 23 million, and we're at 17.6. So we're not where TA thinks we should be. TA thinks we should have at least 2 months of reserves, and we don't even have that. And because you have to break it down, the 25 million is not all one. You break it down, and then you look what is in the general fund, and then you look at special revenue funds. It's a total of 73,000. The debt service, even though it looks like a fund balance of 1.7, you can't use it for anything other than pay your debt. And it's good that we have a surplus there in case we have problems paying the debt. We have that to go to, but we cannot use that for anything else. It would be illegal. So it stays there. Whatever we have in the debt service has to stay there to pay debt, which are the bonds that the public has, the voters have approved. Then you look at the $6.3 million, which are the TRE funds that we put for special projects. That gives you the total 25 million. So you see the breakdown there. It's very easy just to say you have 25 million, that's all we have, but you have to look at how the components and how it's broken down piece by piece, and you realize how the money is put out. Again, this is something we gave to all the board. You all got that back in November. This is something we published in the newspapers, and this is something that's in our audit report. It's something that we have accessible to everybody. Now, when you look at the next column, let's look at this year. You have excess, the column number 2 is excess or deficiencies. Let's look at that 179.07 but we're not to the highest level because they always tell us that we don't have the 3 months reserve. In with standards and Poor's and all those other rating agencies, they're not going to look at 2 months. They're going to want 3 months reserve, because that's basically what they look for. So what this does is when we get the rating from TEA, which is different than the financial ratings out there for bond purposes or for loans, TEA, this is the only domain where we get about an 8 instead of a 10. So, but we're very lucky that we still get a very high rating because we excel in everything else. So in every other domain that TA has, we get 10, we get the maximum amount. Then when we get to this domain, we lose, we get about an 80. And in retrospect, we still are able to get like a 96. I already did the one for this coming year. I think we're going to get a 96 out of 100. That's going to be a rating. And the only reason is because we really don't have 2 months reserves. I've done the research, which I give you through the budget process, and it's unfortunate right now the way school funding is that a lot of school districts are having a lot of problems with their finances because of this funding system and the way it works with the property values and all those other issues. So this is a difficult time for a lot of school districts. And luckily right now the OYO is coming back, and we're getting a little bit of consistency there, and everything helps at this point. But yeah, we only have a 1.5 months reserve. So it's not like we're, I don't want to use the word, but I'm going to use it, like hogging the money and just keeping it. By no means do we have a huge fund balance when you compare it to what TA uses to indicate whether we do or not. And that's why I made that footnote there on that page, on page 35. And the footnote, it says what optimum fund balance is. Optimum fund balance is an evaluation tool that is a standard set by TEA to evaluate adequate fund balance or cash flow. That's basically what it is. I mean, it's either going to tell you whether you have 10 months reserve, a year's reserve, and so forth. We don't.
Mr. Barrera?
So to add to that question, it's not really through bond covenant or bond through the bond covenant that you have to have the reserve.
Correct.
We're having it because TA kind of.
It's just for the board to know, to get an evaluation. TA is not going to require you. There's no requirement out there. There's just best practices. So what TA does, they give you best practices, and like they give you in academics and everything, and they give you benchmarks. And then it's a responsibility of the school board based on policy to decide whether they want to go ahead and do that. But do they require you? No, they don't. But they give you these benchmarks. They're saying that at this point, 2 months reserve is optimum fund balance. But in the private sector, it's at 3 months reserve. And you have people here that might know that also that some of them require 6 months reserve. In the private, when they're going to be looking at the other rating agencies that are out there.
One more question. Out of the 17 million, 17 plus, is some of that money earmarked or designated for certain things, or is just for downfalls or something that we
Yes,
need?
you have 25.8 million that you carried forward, then we're looking at 19.1. Out of those 19.1, 17.2 is not designated, which is the MNO. That's the only thing. The other ones are designated. I mean, that's the way to kind of look at it. The plug-in here is at 19.1 you have there. Out of that, what's not designated is your MNO amount, which we have undesignated. And that's what you see in the audit report.
Any other questions?
I'd like to make a comment.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Mr.
I
Bowles.
want to thank Mr.
Mijares.
Ismael for the outstanding job he does with the school district, of course, with the backing of the board, you guys on the board. We have an outstanding balance. You know, I read in the paper from San Antonio, they're having all kinds of financial problems. You know, I want to commend you on that, Ismael, for doing an outstanding job.
Thank you, and I want to commend my staff too, and Mr. Gonzalez and the board and everything, because you guys make a difference, and I think we work well many years working together, I think it makes a difference.
Thank you, Mr. Mijares. We'll continue with item number 4. At this time, we'll have a presentation by our City of Eagle Pass Mayor Ramsey English Cantu on a resolution in support for the development of a regional transportation corridor plan by the Texas Department of Transportation, TxDOT.
Yes, I was approached by Ernie Gonzalez from the Business and Economic Development on allowing our mayor to come speak to us about this resolution. Of course, this resolution would address travelers' safety, reduce traffic congestion, and support economic development. So, Mayor?
Thank you, Superintendent Gonzalez and Madam President, members of the board. I do want to thank you all for giving us just a brief moment to express our, of course, work that we are doing, not only from a city level, but from a regional perspective, the work that is needed to continue with the continued growth of our community. And we all know the development that continues, that needs to move forward within our great city and our county. This, of course, as chairman of the local Middle Rio Grande Development Council and throughout representing the 9 counties, we're currently working on a plan in order to bring forth development for the greater substantiality of bringing more opportunity for funding and, of course, for creating what is a regional transportation plan for this region. This not only encompasses, of course, Eagle Pass, but it encompasses the areas throughout the 9 counties. As you all know, that within Eagle Pass, we see very important projects from TxDOT that are pending completion, projects that are such as the completion of Loop 480, which is something that is very important even for the school districts. You all know as the Transportation Department goes through the safety of the transportation of its students, we are looking, of course, to garner the support not only of the local entities such as the county and cities, but of course of the school districts in order to make sure that we can bring forth this greater sense of need to the state of Texas. One of the other items that we'll bring forth and that I also want to mention to you all is that we've been working on this for quite some time now. I know that Board Trustee Christopher Hiller also serves as the chairman for the Transportation Committee for the City of Eagle Pass Business and Economic Development Committee, which has been the driving force behind this effort. This past February, we had a chance to meet with the Texas Transportation Chairman, Chairman Bruce Budd, in order to bring these types of needs to the table and to make sure that Eagle Pass is well represented and heard on these types of transportation needs. So we're hopeful that the school district will join the efforts of the 9 counties. The work that is pending is much, but we need to stay united in this front in order to make sure that we can address all of the funding mechanisms that we possibly can. There will be many other items that will be addressed along the road, but this is a first step for us to move forward and to make sure that we are addressing these concerns. So it is respectfully at this time that we are requesting a resolution of support from the Eagle Pass ISD Board of Trustees and the district as well.
Thank you. Questions for our mayor?
Just a comment.
Yes, go ahead.
I think we've been, and I think I speak for all of us, we've been blessed to have this communication, these lines of communication open with you guys. And Mr. Mayor, respectfully, I mean, I applaud your work and more than anything, the communication that's always out there. I know, if it's dealing with sports, if it's dealing with, anything dealing with the students, you're always there. Your staff is always there for us, and I think it's very important. Sometimes we might, take it lightly, but I sure know that we don't take it lightly, and I know you don't take it lightly, and every little bit helps, and it's awesome to be able to do this and to be able to do this in a very positive manner, and I know we will continue to do that, with whatever we can do. We'll be there for you, and I know it's going to go reciprocate.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Are we voting on a resolution or waiting for?
And just if I may add, there is, of course, also, if you all wish to express some additional support, there is a TxDOT transportation public hearing that is going to be held here in Eagle Pass this Thursday at 4:30 at the International Center for Trade. If the board wishes to have a representative there just to express the support of that resolution as well, it would be greatly appreciated. There are other items that we're working on also, and I just want to make note, I appreciate, I'm going to step back briefly and just say I appreciate the recognition that you all give to the Public Works Department. TxDOT is working tirelessly also with us. We worked hand in hand because a lot of students, even from the CC Win area, were requesting sidewalks alongside that area, and TxDOT was able to fund sidewalks heading towards CC Win High School from Veterans Boulevard. So that's another great project that we'll be seeing that we've been able to work hand in hand with the state on. So there's some greater projects that are coming for the south side of Eagle Pass as well for the schools in that area.
If I may, ma'am.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
I echo what Dr. Alvarez said, Mayor. It's the vision that you have for our community. We appreciate everything that you do for this community. I know that there's a lot of talk from people from Eagle Pass about opening a road from Laredo, Webb County to Maverick County towards a casino.
Correct.
To mention a place. I mean, it would really be very helpful for the people from, I know that in talking to the customs people, that the port that has the reporting of the $10,000 in cash is the one that comes from the toll road that they have because of the come to the casino. Mm-hmm. We have a large portion of people from Monterrey that come to the casino and leave a lot of their money here in Eagle Pass for us to take advantage of. So I congratulate you for everything that you do, and keep it up. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Yes, at this time, Mayor, we'll inform you at this time that we will bring a resolution to the board
Great.
so that we can vote on, but I do not anticipate any problems
Issues.
in bringing it as soon as possible so that we can offer our support
Great.
and join your efforts.
Great. Well, we appreciate it and know that we provided y'all with a sample resolution with all of the others as the communities that are working on as well. So if there's anything else that y'all need, please feel free to contact my office and we'll be able to facilitate that for you. Okay.
Thank you,
Madam
Mayor.
President and members of the board. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, we'll continue with item number 5, presentation of E3 Integral Solutions Incorporated on Energy Efficiency and Saving Performance Project.
Yes, as you well know and are aware, E3/TASB was selected by Eagle Pass ISD as the energy services company to partner with Eagle Pass ISD to address the district's capital improvement needs using the performance contracting energy savings program. So they do have a brief presentation that will include a summary of the program and discuss the next step.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, and Mr. Gonzalez. Thank you all once again for giving us the opportunity to present our program to you. It's been a while since we've been here, but it's the same cast of characters that have been here from when this thing started a year and a half ago or so. I think Mr. Mireles hit the nail on the head. This program is very popular throughout the state of Texas because school districts are strapped and are trying to figure out a way to make capital improvements, looking for funding opportunities, basically to get more bang for your buck. And this program falls into that, which is the biggest reason why it is a popular program with school districts in the state of Texas. My name is Bill Savarino. With us in attendance is Vince Zubacek. He's also with E3. And Angel Magallanes is the TASB representative. If you remember, we're a partner of TASB, so it's an E3 TASB program. Vince is going to take us through, just give you a quick kind of a concept review of where the dollars are coming from and how the program works. And then I'm going to jump back in and take you to where we're at now, where it needs to go to take the next step moving forward, which that next step would be a project development agreement. So I'm going to hand it over to Vince to let him run through the concept again and remind everybody why this program is so great for the district.
Excellent. Mr. Superintendent, members of the Board of Trustees, thank you very much for this opportunity to speak tonight. The first thing that I'll go through real quickly is an overview of the concept. And one primary thing that a lot of school districts get value out of this program is not just looking into energy efficiency items at the district, which will maximize energy savings and the impact of the project. But what E3 and TASB will do when we work with you is we also look beyond that to deferred maintenance items, those things like HVAC replacements, building automation control installations in your school buildings that are needed implementation items for your buildings that save some money but we try to couple them with the energy savings items as part of your district to provide one project that has a primary goal of energy savings, but also accomplishes some needs of the district that may be able to divert some dollars away from O&M expenditures and do it under this project to get more benefit than just the energy savings from this project. So know that that's the approach that we're going to be taking when we look through your facilities with your administration and your staff. As a brief concept overview, what I've got on this slide here is a pie that shows $3.6 million of utility expenditures. I got that from your website, from your 2016-2017 electricity, natural gas, and water expenditures for the district. And so this is the pie that this is the pie from within your budget that we're going to be looking to maximize as part of this program. So we take those utilities, we analyze the energy savings potential, and then we come in and we implement those energy savings measures like LED lighting throughout the district, building automation controls, HVAC replacements, and anything that's energy related that can maximize savings, which, by the way, also can improve classroom comfort and improve the overall learning environment at the same time. And then if you go to the next slide, see that what this shows is we try to capture the maximum amount of energy savings that we can. We guarantee those energy savings and then leverage those savings to implement one project that is completely paid for by dollars that are being spent right now on utilities. So we take that same pie and you're able to pay your utilities and pay for a project that brings beneficial infrastructure improvements to your existing facilities. And the example that we have here is that if we assume a 25% reduction of utilities through this project, that's $900,000 in savings. Over 15 years, that would be over $13 million in benefit that the district can reallocate from spending on utilities to making beneficial improvements to your buildings. And so that's part of the big question of performance contracting, is we can leverage those dollars that are already going out the door and use that to improve the facilities that you have and make beneficial improvements. My next slide here is to talk about just the concept and who E3 and TASB have worked with. This is not a new concept in the state of Texas. E3 has worked with over 100 school districts in the state of Texas alone to implement over 125 projects. We've worked with many school districts all over the state, and would be happy to give you reference information of those clients so you can talk to them about the experience that they had with E3 and TASB. And then the last thing that I'll say, and I'll hand it over to Bill, is we talk about guaranteed energy savings and how that will pay for the project. And so really what it comes down to is the performance that E3 and TASB can bring to you on after the project is implemented. Well, is that savings really going to be achieved? And what this slide shows is that, as a matter of fact, every client that we have worked with has achieved their energy savings and achieved their guarantee. And you can see that the vast majority of them have not only achieved the savings, but have exceeded those savings. So you can look at a scenario where you can look at not only all of the improvements being made through dollars being spent right now, but actually achieving extra savings beyond that, where this can be a net positive to your utility expenditures. So with that, I'll pass it back over to Bill for him to go through the steps of the process, unless you have any questions at this point. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Vince. So if you remember where the district has gone regarding this program, we've had many administrative meetings and workshops with the board. We had special board meetings and so forth, facilities committee meeting. The district decided to go out for RFQs. You went through the procurement process. And then in January, I believe it was, you made a selection. You selected E3 Integral Solutions, TASB, to partner with for this project. So the next step of the process is what we call the project development agreement. And this is where everything puts together, the partnership really comes into play. The project development agreement is the step that allows our company to work with your staff, your administration. We inventory all of your HVAC equipment, age, comfort issues, what needs to be replaced. The district is in full control. We inventory, or we count every fixture, every light bulb in the district. We'll design and engineer HVAC projects on the needed equipment. We provide all the subcontractor or go through the subcontractor walkthroughs to get the bidding process. At the end of the day, What we bring back to you as a result of this project development agreement is a guaranteed lump sum proposal that is typically HVAC controls and lighting, could be whatever else the district would have in mind, and a guaranteed savings associated with that work that will be equal to or greater than the debt service for that project. So I want to make sure that everyone understands there's no new money from the district. It's dollars you're currently spending today. We're going to guarantee a reduction of your existing expenditures, and what that savings is going to pay for the entire cost of the project on an annual basis. So the savings will be equal to or greater than the annual debt service of the project. And also we'd roll back up, and it'll take us probably about 3 or 4 months if we were to do this project development agreement district-wide. We would bring all this and we would be communicating with the board so that at the end of the day we have agreed upon scope of work, we have agreed upon financing. Mr. Mendez in previous meetings has stated whether it be an 8-year financing, 10-year, 12, 15, whatever it is, the district is in complete control of that. But during this project development agreement is whenever we work with your administration to make sure that whatever it is we bring back to you is exactly what the district wants. So there's 2 ways to approach these project development agreements, and I will make a personal recommendation just based on my 23 years of doing this, and I'm going to show you examples why. You can either do the whole district at one time. That doesn't mean you have to do all the work in every single facility, but it's an actual project development agreement of the entire district at one time, or you can do phases. We've had school districts that do 2 phases, or we have districts that do all one comprehensive project. And yes.
A couple of questions. One, when you start the initial checking of the schools and pricings and all that, I guess we do have to get into a contract. If nothing happens, if we don't decide to go with it, is there still a charge?
Yes, sir. And I have that contract up here as we go through, and I'll answer that. But short answer, if we do not meet our part of the agreement, which is if we cannot find enough savings to cover 100% of the costs, then there's no cost to the district. The only way the district would pay us is if we come back to you with a self-funding project that we all agree to, that we would do, and the district says in 4 months from now, you know what, we don't want to do it, then there's a cost associated with that. And that's 7 cents a square foot is what we're charging.
Are the savings, even if we do let's say we do 2 schools instead of the whole district-wide, if you're only doing the 2 savings, we can still go through that project? Instead of doing the district-wide, let's say you only find savings or we only want to do 2 schools, for example. You checked out the whole district.
Yes, sir.
And there's 100% savings, but if we're only doing a phases and we're only doing 2, is that still?
I think I understand your question. That's why it's real important on the front end for us to really understand what you are wanting out of this project development agreement. What we don't want to do is to develop a bunch of work district-wide and come back and you say, you know what, we only really want to address 2 schools. We would want to know that up front. So that's part of the partnership that we're talking about, that we would work together. But in past presentations, and I bring this up, and I talked to Rio Grande City, they had no problem with us sharing information, but Rio Grande City project was brought up several times in our past presentations. I think this is a perfect example because they're pretty close to where y'all are size-wise. I believe y'all are a little bit bigger. But the Rio Grande City project, and a copy of their project development agreement is also included in the packet for your review. But they decided to do the entire project, include every facility as part of their project development agreement. And here's a huge benefit why, and this is why I make the recommendation. There are going to be several schools in the project that are going to be your biggest energy users, that are going to pay for not only those schools' HVAC, but they're going to pay for school district other HVAC equipment that's in other facilities that necessarily don't have much energy savings in these other facilities, but their equipment's really old. So when you do a comprehensive project, what this allows us to do by looking at the whole district, that doesn't mean we're going to do work in every district, but what it does is it allows us to understand where the biggest energy savings opportunities are, and then build a project based on those facilities. We may go through and look at the entire district and say, you know what, You have newer equipment over here. You have new lighting. You have controls. We don't need to touch those facilities. But at the end of the day is we want to be able to come back, share information with the school district, and we together pick and choose what facilities we want to include in terms of in their proposal to make the capital improvements in. So I'm going to take this a step further. Right here is an energy analysis that is done, that is completed at Rio Grande City. And, okay, good, this works good. This over here in the far right, in the far right column is what they spend on an annual basis for utilities. What is in green, this is kind of interesting here, I just want to share it with you. This number here is 2.3 million. These in green are 2 high schools that are currently under litigation. They asked us to exclude those 2 facilities. They want to do those in a phase 2, which we're waiting for the litigation in, and we'll go in and knock those out. So Rio Grande City said, we have aging equipment all over the district. We are in trouble. We don't have the funds available in fund balance. We don't have capital improvement funds to throw at the project. We want you to address as much as you possibly can. Look at our facilities, see what you can do. What this right here is a result of looking at the entire district. This column right here is LED lighting. This is the best, easiest, low-hanging fruit that there is for LED. We offer a 20-year warranty, which is pretty, you won't find that much in the industry. Typical, they're 10-year warranties. But these are great energy savings opportunities for school districts that help pay for all of these other needs. So in this particular project, they said, we need you to take care of as much as you possibly can with the savings. We can't have you go a penny over. We don't have any money other than what we're currently spending today. This particular project, we're taking, I think, about 71% of their HVAC equipment we were able to include in the Rio Grande City project in the phase 1. You can see there's still a lot of stuff that we came up with during our audit that we were not able to address because simply there wasn't enough savings to address. But if the district would have only picked 2 or 3 schools to look at, we wouldn't be able to do much if you're relying on the savings to fund a big project. So to answer your question, sir, that is why it's a benefit to look at the whole district and then pick and choose what you want to address once you understand what the savings opportunity is for the district. So what their total project came to is a little over $7 million. The savings was $634,000 a year. The annual payment for the project was $577,000. They financed for 15 years. The final project, this is what we had presented at the time. When we finally got financing, they actually beat that 577. We actually got them a lower rate, but this was the presentation that we provided them. So on the cash flow, using the same, the pie charts that Vince went over earlier, in Rio Grande City case, we saved them $634,000 a year. That's $9.5 million worth of savings, and you can see on their cash flow, 15-year cash flow, they got all of the equipment. They got lighting district-wide, LED lighting district-wide. They got energy management systems in 50% of their facilities. They address a ton of their HVAC needs. And at the end of the day, they're going to not only have a positive cash flow, but at the end of the 15 period, they're going to bank $285,000 based on our guarantee. If we exceed our guarantee, which show that chart that we're about 134% of our guarantee, that's just an added benefit, an added plus that goes back to the school district. So I'm hoping this was a good example to use in terms of us recommending that you look at the entire district, and it doesn't mean that you have to do every facility, but I think it would be to the district's benefit to really get a good understanding where you're at on energy usage throughout the district at this time. I can say that Mr. Salinas was great to work with. We had a meeting, Mr. Velez and Mr. Falana, I believe it was, and there's no doubt in our mind, based on the information that we shared, there's a need. There's old equipment throughout the district. There's not much controls. Your savings come from LED lighting and controls. we think that there's a tremendous opportunity to y'all, for y'all to really make a huge impact in providing comfort for your classrooms throughout your facilities. So in your packet, we have a couple school districts, project development agreements. I had one that we would, if you were to do a district-wide, at Eagle Pass, a district-wide project development agreement, that copy is in there. It's in your folder, I'm sorry, not on the presentation, but it's in your folder. 7 cents a square foot, which is below industry standard. That's what we typically charge. You can see Rio Grande City was 7 cents, Manor was 7 cents. Worst case scenario, that would come if we did district-wide. That's a contract of $120,000. And again, the way that we structure our project development agreement is that we would come in, look at all of your facilities. At the end of the day, if we come back to you and we cannot find enough savings to pay for 100% of the cost of the project, then there's no cost at all to the district. We eat it. If we come back to you and we meet our guidelines and what we said we would do in terms of providing the district with enough savings to pay for the debt service or exceed, and the district at that says, you know what, we really don't want to move forward, then we get reimbursed that $120,000 for all of the engineering and everything that we did. If we come back to you and we work with the district and we move forward with a project, the cost of that audit is rolled into the cost of the project. There's no upfront capital required of the district, so which is finance, which has to be paid for by savings. So it's really a win-win program for the school district. Once the project development is completed, and we had many meetings with y'all, I hope, and not only administration, but then y'all too, to make sure we're all on the same page, then we would come back to you with a construction contract, which would be, it's a two-step process. We get the project development agreement, a contract approved, hopefully at the next board meeting if y'all decide to move forward. And then when we're done with the project development agreement, we bring a construction contract back to the board and for you to vote on. It requires a second vote before it would move into construction. And that's what we have today. So the next step would be hopefully to move forward with a project development agreement contract with the district.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Mr. Barrera?
Your engineers would come in and do a assessment of
Yes, sir.
All the schools and our equipment. Does the district get an engineer as well to double check those numbers?
So you went when the district decided to procure these projects, you did a performance contract and procurement. The statute of performance contract requires that the school district hire a third-party engineer or architect to review the savings calculations associated with our work. So basically, our engineers would take documentation, give it to a third-party engineer. They review the savings calculations, make sure it's industry standard and so forth, and then they have to give it a check, and then that's it. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next, we'll continue. Item 6, presentation of Renaissance Learning Software for Accelerated Reader and Mayan Reader.
Yes, if you recall back in January, during my formative evaluation, the board gave me a goal to work on, and that was the e-books. So we do have Mr. Camarillo here and the representatives from Mayan.
Good evening, Madam President, the members of the board, Superintendent Gonzalez. We have Mr. Isaac Trevino here from Renaissance Learning, who recently acquired Mayan, and we currently are subscribing to the Accelerator Reader program, which you all know is a really good program. This is an e-book solution that the district is considering and looking further because of your direction. And we wanted you to get a glimpse of this because we feel, Mr. Salinas and I have been working with the directors, we feel that this would be a good solution for our e-book at your request. Okay, so Mr. Trevino.
Thank you, Mr. Camarillo.
Thank you so much, Mr. Superintendent Gonzalez, school board members. It is such a pleasure to be here. It's great to see all the smiles on everybody's faces. as we walked in, and that little boy who turned his cap around, I knew this was going to be a great day. It's so great to be here, and it's a pleasure to even some of the districts that E3 and TASB are working with. They're such a blessing to so many districts, and it's great to be in the same vicinity as them. All right, my wife is here with me today. We're so blessed to be here. We've only lost $30 so far at the casinos, so I think we're on a great start, right? And so that's, I guess, our little gift to the community. I guess the area is $30, so you're welcome. Hopefully that helps you purchase some TASB E3 stuff or some Mayan stuff, right? Okay, so it's such a pleasure to be here. Again, my name is Isaac Trevino. I'm from now Renaissance. So Renaissance, if y'all don't know who that is, they're the AR guys, Accelerated Reader People, or STAR Reading, STAR Early Literacy. They bought our company, Mayan, because AR and Renaissance products, they're really just book quizzes for books, which of course you go to the library, you read a book, you take something called an AR quiz. So Mayan is something different. They bought us, and I'll be talking to you today about Mayan. And I think everybody got a folder with some collateral in there. So y'all go ahead and take a look at that. So I just want to remind you guys real quick about your vision, which is amazing. I think creating opportunities for tomorrow's leaders to succeed. And again, I know the school board's looking up here. I hate to make you break your neck, but everything that I'm saying is probably going to be on the screen. So I think that's so amazing that you're trying to create opportunities for tomorrow's leaders to succeed, and I hope that we can partner with that. Okay, and there's a picture of some familiar faces I found on your Facebook page, and on the bottom is your vision statement, and I just want to remind you real quick, it says that you guys are committed to meet the diverse needs of all students, and to empower them to become productive, responsible, and successful members of a global community by providing a high-quality education in a safe and nurturing learning environment. So this is what E3 and TASB are doing over there. They're trying to give your students a comfortable environment to learn. And here at Renaissance, we're trying to give you that high quality of what exactly you're teaching your students. So those are your missions and your vision statement. And that begs the question, so what do you do with all the students that are diverse? And this is where the educational conversation comes in. How do we even teach our students? The two completely different students next to each other, neighbors, they're at completely different levels. So I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen this image up there. So in the first image, we see that we just copy and paste the same education for all students. There's that little Tommy, short Tommy there that everybody makes fun of, right? He's so short, he can't see the game, right? Because what we're doing is we're copying and pasting education for all three of these students who have different needs, who have different levels of education. They're trying to see the game. All of them want to see that, but when we copy and paste, that's not the right way of getting to all these students. And this is where we get into the diverse students, right? In the second image, we see that we give a different level of education for every student. So we focus on the one that is struggling. And that's a great idea, because everybody here in this picture, they can all see. There's different levels that they're starting out on. We're focusing on some. We're not focusing on others, but you know what? They're all together, and they're at the same level right now. So that's some way that some educators are focusing their attention on. But I want to pose a question to you guys. What if, instead of raising the bar for all the students to see over the barrier, what if we completely remove the barrier? What if instead of that fence wall, we completely get rid of it? And I think that's what you guys are trying to do here at Eagle Pass, is you're trying to get different students, different needs. There are different levels of learning. I was a different level than obviously our valedictorian, because I wasn't him, right? So what if we could do that for every student? We get them where they are at their level, and we try to just focus on every single student to remove all barriers. We're talking about equity, access among every student in the school district. So here begs the question, how do we remove the barrier? Okay, and I think that answer is literacy. Okay, there was a study that came out, and there are 3 essential things that every school district needs. And one, it's a good teacher, good teachers. Second is they need to be reading every single day. Okay, this is a study that shows, right? So good teachers, good studies, good reading every single day. And the third one is a positive community. Okay? So literacy being that, okay, I want to show you guys something that might be kind of alarming. Okay, here's a study, and it is done by the National Center for Education Statistics. So this shows which counties are in good standing with their literacy, and this might be the most alarming thing all night. I know we had a lot of fun earlier and stuff, but as you can see, Maverick County, where we are right now, 56% of adults are illiterate. This isn't me, this isn't Mayan, this isn't Renaissance who's doing this study. This is a national statistics survey. And I put some neighboring counties up there, Zavala and Webb. 56% of adults we have here are illiterate. And I mean, that's just mind-boggling to me. As you can see, we have a problem. I don't know if you guys would agree with me, but we have a serious literacy issue. So that being said, what do we do about it? And I think that we have the same culture with what you want to do in Eagle Pass, with the diversity that I read with your vision statement, to get into the students along all processes of learning. And we're trying to do the same thing here at Mayan and now Renaissance. Okay, so this is our why. So this is a national study as well. 67% of fourth graders can't read at their grade level. 67%, and that's the national average. And what I just showed you guys is very county specific. So I probably wouldn't even want to look that up here in this area, honestly. But we're trying to help it, right? And that's why we're all here. So the next one, kids who don't read well by fourth grade are 4 times more likely to drop out of school. Half of these struggling students end up on welfare. I'm saying half. And it comes down to traditional content just is not enough. And this is why the school district and Mr. Gonzalez started thinking about how do we get students access digitally to all these books, or even not online. So kids have their own tastes and encounter many books too hard or easy to read. So basically, if you guys could imagine when you're a student in school and you go to the library, you see a book with a cool dragon on it. Yeah, I want to read that book, but you're a little fourth grader and that's at an 11th grade level. Right, so what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it easier for them, because there's another study that shows if there's even one obstacle from getting from the student to accessing their literacy goals, just one obstacle, they're not going to do it. Okay, the last one, finding the right book is like finding a needle in a haystack. Okay, so this is where we talk about Mayan. Okay, Mayan is the newest and grooviest thing to happen to Renaissance. So basically what it is, Mr. Gonzalez, you're going to like this. Some superintendents call us the Netflix for reading. Anybody here have Netflix? I have Netflix. My wife and I watch Netflix all the time. Some superintendents call us the eHarmony for reading. Because basically what happens is the students, and again, I only have 15 minutes, so I wish I could show you the entire program, but I'm just going to give you guys the big vision. Okay, so what happens is the students, they log in. Each grade level, every student, they take a interest level survey. So everybody in here has different interests, right? So the students say, I like cars, I like basketball, and I like animals. So they go through that interest survey. Right after that, they take something called a Lexile level assessment. So not only do we have their interest level, all the things that they want to read, right after that, we turn around and we get their level of reading. So what we do is in our core library alone, we have 6,000 plus books. So we match everything that the students want to read. If little Tommy wants to read about sports because he was watching the finals and he wants to dive deeper into it, right? Or if he likes trucks, he's going to get thousands upon thousands of digital books all about what he wants to read. And the best part about it is they're all at his level. And they call it the Netflix for reading because you know how on Netflix, like say I'm watching The Notebook or something, I'm a little lonely and I'm crying, right? What happens after when you watch The Notebook on Netflix? It goes, right, hey, you liked The Notebook? I know you're still crying. Keep crying. We have these 5 other movies that you're going to love because you just watched the Netflix. So what we're doing is we're translating that to books, okay? So if little Tommy, like I said, loves basketball, he's going to be finding tons of books about basketball. And all the while, we're measuring his growth. We're measuring the books that he's reading, the district at your level, or even at this teacher's level. And they can go throughout to the most smallest of details. They can see what your student's reading, when they're reading. I was just at a school district in the Rio Grande Valley, actually, somewhere near here. Sorry, I'm feedbacking. They say that since we measure when they're reading, they said that 30% of their reading is happening on weekends. 30%, I mean, have you heard of that? 30%, because that's what happens when, you have Facebook and you like all the things that you want to see, and you can't put it down because it's just everything, it's over and over, and that's exactly what we're doing for reading. And there's all types of assessments throughout the whole process just to measure what they're doing. So the second thing, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that they can access these books, 6,000 plus books. Every single student has their own personal library of what they want to read, when they want to read it, and they can also access it offline. So again, we're trying to remove the barrier. We're trying to get rid of everything that's trying to hold these students back from their love of reading, because obviously there's a problem. And it's not just in this area, it's all over the nation. So we're trying to close the literacy gap. So they can, if they don't have access to the internet, they can go to Starbucks or McDonald's, and they can download up to 20 books on any device that they want. And if they're going on a trip this summer, then they'd have all the books downloaded as well. So in the next slide, so the collective impact model. I want to tell you guys something about the big vision of MION. So as you can see, and I'm sorry, in your packets, I'm not going to go into detail, but you can look at them over later. But you can see everywhere that MION is accessed. So it's not just a school. What we're doing is we're extending the school day so that we create the love of reading. So in another Valley School District, I can mention them, Mission CISD. They actually started in the Boys and Girls Club. So the students over the summer, what did they do? They would go and play basketball, and then they'd also read books, because guess what? There's 6,000 plus books for every single student in their pocket. It started there. So then it started infiltrating the school district. And then guess what? Since all the books are audio supported, they're reading to you, we have voice actors, they actually gave access to MION, digital books, again, that read to you, to all the expectant mothers in their local hospital. So even the mothers, before they gave birth to their baby, maybe they are illiterate, maybe they can't read, maybe they don't know English, and they don't want their child going through the same thing that they did. They actually played these books to the baby before they're even born. So that's happening in the Valley. So we're trying to think of the big picture of all access to books. There's a study that shows that for you to ensure that your child is going to be on the right course, go through college, be a successful member of society, which is in your vision statement, you have to have 500 books in your home. And to be honest, I don't think I have 500 books in my home. But I have Netflix that has thousands of movies, and I have MION that has thousands of books. So we're trying to do that here with Eagle Pass. And I know my time's almost ending, but again, so the collective impact model just shows exactly, it can go everywhere. And I know y'all mentioned Manor ISD, and we work with them. They made a bus that's called the Move on the Go bus, and they have Wi-Fi in there, and they have access to books. So it's just removing the barriers. That's what we're trying to do, so we can decrease that 56% illiteracy rate, right?
Madam President,
Yes, sir.
if I may.
Yes, sir, go
interrupt.
ahead.
If I may interrupt here.
Yes.
I'm a former principal of Eagle Pass High School and Eagle Pass Junior High. And I wholeheartedly believe that is one of the key ways of getting our kids to elevate their reading comprehension level
The AR program is one of the best things that we have in place, but we don't utilize it as effectively as we could, simply because, or at least this is my opinion based on what I have seen, once we implement or we get the program itself, which we've had for many years now, we don't have the successful things that have taken place throughout the state of Texas. I'll just use the state of Texas in determining what it is that was implemented in certain districts that made the kids jump from third grade level reading to sixth grade level reading in one year. It was simply because they were able to utilize the AR program a lot more effective than other districts. And I'm going. This is where I'm going. Okay, that it takes your company or the AR program, the people in charge of the AR program that sell it to us. It's a darn good program. You can't beat it if you utilize it effectively. It will give these kids the opportunity for them to enjoy reading. That's the whole key right there. They need to learn to enjoy reading. Reading comprehension is a deterrent in making better grades on our testing programs, the tests that we have to take throughout the years. And if we are able to get more training from your company or other companies that might be available in helping the AR program, I, for one, pushed very hard with the person in charge of the English department, which now is Mr. Muskis. It used to be Mr. Martinez. He did a terrific job. He was able to keep the scores of all the elementary schools to see what teacher taught or had his kids or her kids reading more AR books and taking the tests and accumulating points in the library. The librarian plays a key role in this program, working together with the English teachers. There's a plan somewhere along the line, there's a plan somewhere that can be utilized by your company to make this program more effective, is my whole point. I think we can do it. I know it can be done simply if the desire is there to get it done. And I think that your company could be very helpful in training our people to utilize this program a lot more effectively than it's being used at this time. Not that it's not in some cases. I mean, it's working. It works. I've seen it work. We have a lot of kids going to college in the East, in the Far East, in Harvard. I mean, it's just amazing how many of our kids have increased their level of comprehension, which makes them better students. And all I want is for your company to be able to spend more time in developing plans of action that have worked in other districts so that we can be more effective here in Maverick County or in Eagle Pass, based on the fact that we have a lot of people coming in from Mexico. That's why our literacy rate is so high.
I think so, yeah.
But our kids, our young people learn English a lot quicker simply because they don't get embarrassed by speaking English in a very limited way. As you well know, us Hispanics, we kind of shy away from being embarrassed whenever we speak English and say it in the wrong way.
Yeah.
And that's something that draws us back in improving the overall program as far as reading comprehension is concerned, the speaking and the reading comprehension. So I would like to see the company develop or look for a plan of action that we could implement that's been successful somewhere throughout the state of Texas, so we can implement as soon as possible so that we can take advantage of everything that's there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope I made sense in what I was telling you.
core library. So those are really K-8. So that's the primary focus of the core library. And also, I forgot to mention, 10% of them are in Spanish as well. And that's a big, it's the biggest collection of Spanish. But what we do is, you know the big books that all the students are reading, like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, things like that. You buy like 10 copies, they cost you $200, or they're really expensive. We get publishers like that, and since they don't want all their students reading, well, they still want to make money off of their books, right? We give every single student the same access to every book, so it's kind of hard for us to convince them to buy it from them. So that we have something called add-on publishers, and usually at the high school level, they're add-on because like the things like Twilight or these high-interest books, because that's what we want. They're really expensive still, so they're add-on publishers. So if we're talking about the core library, that's sorry, I think I'm beatboxing here. So you have the 6,000 core books, K-8, right? So there's something called Mayan Classics, which is I think like 30 books. So it's like the Macbeth, and like the books that they're reading at a high school level. Those are all included as well. But the high interest at the high school level, they are add-on. But I mean, you spend like $100 maybe per campus, and every single student has access to these incredible books.
So this library does not include anything 9 up. And the reason why I ask is because we've been faced with the opposite situation where we have these really, really bright, unique kids who are in elementary and who are already reading 8th grade level. And so we have those situations also. And what we want is to find a program that also makes sure that they are covered and that we make sure and keep developing them and make sure that their reading keeps improving. And so that's a challenge for you. What do you have to offer us in the high school level also? Which I think this is a great program because kids are not going to be waiting in line to get these books. So at least K through 8, it sounds like it's a very interesting program, but we also need to not leave behind the high school students.
Absolutely.
Working together, excuse me, ma'am. Working together with the city of Eagle Pass, we have a really good library. They have the AR program, the AR program at the public library for people to utilize it and be more effective because it works. It works. I mean, I've seen it work with many of our kids, and it would be very helpful to implement it at the city level for people to take advantage of it, and our own kids at the same time. You can go check out an AR book there in the library, the AR section, and learn. Reading comprehension is the key to everything, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And no, absolutely. And with the high school, we're willing to just throw things in there just because we really want to work with Eagle Pass. So, and I guess we'll talk with. I know we've been working with Patrick Salinas, so I mean that's already covered. We'll probably just put it in this one.
How integrated will Mayan and the AR programs? Are all the books in Mayan also in the AR system?
That's an incredible question, and they're 100% testable in AR. So at the end of every single book, whether you add on the add-on publishers or the ones for the high school, the higher, even collegiate level, because we're so adamant. One of our visions is, I mean, before they're even born, we're trying to get them to read, right? So we're measuring them throughout their entire educational career, right? So at the end of every single book, they just click a button, boop, and they take their AR quiz. 100% of them.
Thank you. Dr. Olivares?
Yeah, just a little follow-up on that. We've got the AR program going, just like Ila said about we've got students that go above and beyond that. I know you'll be telling us a little bit more about that later on, but is there does your platform provide an accountability system for the students that are going in there? Like, it'll be able to tell us, hey, X amount of students went in and read X amount of books and tested X amount of times?
Absolutely. So one of the things that Mayan does differently than AR is we measure reading by reading, right? So The problem with the point system sometimes is little Susie. She always reads 200 books over the summer, whether you have a contest or not, so she always wins because she has the most points. So what we do with Mayan is we measure reading with reading. Sometimes we'll do, like, we know when they're accessing books, what books they've accessed, what time of day. We have all that information, and we measure all of it. And at the same time, so we can do the accountability through that, through whether they're reading or logging in at all. We can also do my favorite, which is by growth. Because every 5 books that they read, they take an assessment, a Lexile level assessment. And we don't do those. We partnered with Metametrics, who created the Lexile level assessment. So every 5 books, they're taking an assessment to see what level of reading they are. And it's just crazy to see them skyrocket. So we can do accountability through that realm as well.
I guess it'd just be real interesting to see what titles are involved in those 6,000, and what add-ons would be, for the.
Yeah, that's the fun part, just seeing all the books that the students are going to have access to.
Any other questions for Mr. Trevino? Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much
It was
for
an
your
awesome
questions.
presentation.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I had fun.
Thank you. Okay, item number 7, we have presentation of emergency operation plan, quick reference guide.
Yes, with the different tragedies, I guess we can say, at some of the school districts, more recently Sutherland Springs, we decided to develop a safety committee, and this committee was comprised of students, teachers, parents, principals, law enforcement agencies, the cabinet, and myself. And out of that committee came out the quick reference guide for any type of a situation, a crisis situation. And Rolando Salinas actually worked on this with some of the principals and so on. So he's here to give us a quick reference on the quick reference guide.
Say something quick. Yes, good evening, Mr. Gonzalez, Superintendent, Madam President, respected board members. Just as Mr. Gonzalez was saying, that safety committee did come about right around the month of March. What you're seeing right now is basically the product of a subcommittee that was established within the committee. In fact, and I don't want to break your necks, but most of the information will be right behind you. The committee members that actually spearheaded this specific committee was Mr. John Cox. In fact, he was the chairperson of this committee, along with Mr. Jose Montes, who's one of our criminal justice teachers at CC Wynn. We also had Ms. Amalia Riojas, one of our elementary school principals, and Ms. Lisa Ruiz, an early childhood principal, myself, and our assistant chief of police, Officer Cristino Inocencio. Now, the premise of this particular committee was to see what we had pretty much in place in regards to emergency operation plans at the campus level. What we noticed when we met the first time is that everybody had a semblance of an emergency operation plan, but we didn't have anything that was very standardized. And we felt that we needed to have a little cohesion at the district level in order for us to have something that we could define as a campus emergency operation plan that would have similar type of elements that would be involved so that all the campuses, early childhood through high school, would have a semblance and consistency with the different types of things that we expect in order to keep our schools safe. Just to give you a little preface before we get into the actual manual there, basically the goal of this particular emergency operation plan is pretty much 5-fold. Letter A, our basic goal is to save lives, to save human lives. Of course, to treat the injured, warn the public to avoid any further casualties, prevent harm from the effects of an incident, evacuate people away from the effects of the incident, shelter and care for those that are evacuated, and then provide familial reunification or welfare communication if in the event that we do need to evacuate the campus or the building itself. The next thing that we wanted to concentrate on was, of course, protecting the property in itself. save property from harm or destruction, act to prevent further harm or loss, provide security for affected buildings and or property. Another area that was concentrated on was the protection of the environment. We do have campuses that are adjacent to the railroads, that are adjacent to certain gas lines and things that are in pretty close proximity to some of these campuses. So confining hazardous chemical releases to the smallest possible areas and preventing runoffs from entering waterways, stormways, systems, and sewers were other things that we wanted to consider as part of our plan. Stabilizing the incident, act to stop or minimize the incident cause, and to maintain critical campus processes and functions. At the end of the day, we are an educational institution, so the goal is to bring normalcy and get the school back running as quick as possible, which takes us to restoration. Restore the essential services and the utilities, and act to return the campus to academic and educational functionality. So in essence, these were the goals that the committee had in regards to developing this operation program. One of the elements that they wanted to use and continue to use that was shared with some of the operation plans was the incorporation in some cases, but the implementation of a buddy system. As we know, when emergencies do come about, there's many types of emergencies that can affect the campus, from fires to perhaps an intruder or tornadoes or just anything that could possibly happen. With that in mind, developing a multi-buddy system is an easy task for Eagle Pass teachers. We feel administrators, counselors, clerks, custodians, paraprofessionals, and police and security forces, because we really feel that we have a very good collaborative team in communication throughout the district. With that said, a thorough understanding of the purpose and the elements involved with an effective buddy system is important. So what is a buddy system and what does it incorporate? Well, basically it's 5 things, or 8 things, I'm sorry. A buddy can help create a sense of calmness and can help alleviate feelings of anxiety in an emergency situation. This is where teachers are buddying with one another. They're pairing off. So in the event that one of the teachers is absent or not available for whatever reason, the partner, the buddy, would assist that particular classroom in providing direction and making sure that those students, of course, are self and well-informed. Teachers need to choose a buddy from an adjacent or nearby classroom as close as possible. Review the evacuation routes and procedures with your buddy. You should be ready to assist each other in any procedure, evacuation, lockdown, shelter in place, medical emergency in the classroom. During an emergency, teachers should conduct classroom status checks. Buddy teachers should check on each other. Remember that teachers' responsibility to all the students, or is to all the students, but in situations that threaten the lives of all, teachers should do the greatest good for the greatest number. If necessary, one buddy teacher should evacuate both classrooms. If both buddy teachers are available for the evacuation, one should lead and one should bring up the rear, checking briefly to make sure that both classrooms are empty and closing doors. The buddy system, along with the department phone tree, can serve to keep all the campus safe and informed. Ensure that the substitute teachers are familiar with the emergency procedures and who their buddies are. So I know that we've met with Mr. Costilla as well. He's also plans to train our substitute teachers in regards to, this is still in, I'm hoping, a final draft mode, but in creating this particular flip chart, you know, the campus principals and the committee or the subcommittee that was responsible for this wanted to make sure that it was something that was very useful, practical for all of the classroom teachers. In fact, this resource is for the classroom teachers. We have a different resource for our administrators that's a little bit more intense and gives a little bit more direction. But we wanted to make sure that traditionally we had it in a binder. We would find it on a shelf, and many times it was not easily accessible to the teachers because just like everything else, sometimes we do forget where we put things, but we do feel that this little flip chart would provide them a hands-on, easy access to the different type of procedures that we have in place. What we expect is for all of our classrooms to have this hanging right by the door, right by the threshold, so it's evident and it's very accessible to all of our teachers, along with any substitute teachers that come into play. What you see there basically is the preface of the information that I provided you with, and all the components that the flip chart actually has. So it does have our lockdown procedures, what we define as shelter in place, evacuation of a building and when to do that, reverse evacuation, tornado or severe weather, hazardous materials, any dangerous substance that could be identified on campus, medical emergencies in the classroom, information for substitute teachers, general evacuation information, our safety cards, that too was reduced. We used to have a red, a green, and a yellow. The committee decided that green and red, either I'm okay or I need help, in order not to confuse any communication along the way. And also a building map, which would be customized for each respective school, of course. So if you don't mind, I'm going to take a little bit of your time, and I'm going to pretty much read verbatim here because I want you all to understand what the different procedures are for the emergency plan. So if I could have your attention first and foremost, you'll notice that our quick reference guide has all of our emergency numbers starting with 911. It's still in a draft mode. Like I said, we still have to make some final corrections, and please feel free to make any recommendations if you need to before we set out to print. We do plan to print at the end of the month so that the campus principals can have this readily available when they come back in July. So we just wanted to give it one final run before we actually sent the print. So you'll have all of the local emergency numbers, some 1-800 numbers for your suicide hotlines, and also all of you have our superintendent's office number, the extension, all of the deputy superintendents, and any additional information that we might need for specific emergency numbers and people that we need to contact. If you go to the first portion of our flip chart, notice that it will take you to our lockdown portion here. And regarding our lockdown information, please be reminded that this is for campus teachers and other staff. So when do we use this lockdown procedure? Basically, when there's an intruder, or there might be weapons in the classroom, a hostage, active shooter, criminal contact administration and the nurse's office by sending a reliable student to get assistance. Be prepared to give simple, clear instructions that can be readily accepted and understood. An example of this would be that student is choking in room A3. Mr. Urisqua, we didn't want to use any teacher's names, is requesting help now. Please hurry. One student should be directed to go toward the closest administrator's office, but stop and seek assistance through anyone with a radio. And the second student should be directed to go to the nurse's office and not stop until they make contact with someone in the nurse's office. We want the teacher and the adult to stay with the student that is being affected by the emergency. So that's the reason in some case we do have very effective communications at some campuses with our PA system, intercoms, but in some cases we do have campuses that may require this strategy in itself. Number 4 is general directions. Choking, if choking, perform the Heimlich maneuver, and we did provide some information on the poster that's on the opposite, or right below that particular flip chart. Accidents, do not move the victim, and if you suspect neck or back injury, and control severe bleeding. For heart attacks, strokes, seizures, make certain that the person is breathing, make certain that the person's heart is beating by checking pulse, do CPR as necessary. As you all well know, we do provide a lot of training during the summer for many of our teachers, coaches, nurses, so we do have a lot of resources at the campus level in regards to that. This is a sample of the illustration that's there on the flip chart for the Heimlich maneuver. And we also, in this case, we wanted to provide some additional information regarding first aid. This is the anaphylaxis information, not that the teachers will be doing this, but just so that they're informed in regards to this. And once again, capitalize on all of the space that we had on these particular flip charts. Information for substitute teachers. A copy of the Eagle Pass ISD Emergency Operations Plan, quick reference guide, and an up-to-date roster of the student assigned to that classroom will be by the classroom door. As previously mentioned, we want these to be hanging right by the doorway, right by the threshold. Safety, your safety, the student safety is priority, our number 1 priority. Always act in the best interest of keeping yourself and the student safe. We want you to remain calm. You are the adult, you're the leader. If needed, ask students for help. All students have been trained on emergency procedures. Now in this case, as you all well know, we have many types of substitutes. We have many retired teachers that come back into the workforce and help us as substitute teachers. We have young students that are perhaps trying to do some of their college here locally and are also part of our substitute group that go and substitute at many of our classrooms. So if that's the case, we might have a substitute teacher with many years of experience, or that might be the first day that they're actually in the classroom. That's why we refer to, if needed, ask students for help. Our teachers train our students very well. They're very meticulous in making sure that these procedures will be done correctly. And I think that it would be an excellent resource. And like all classrooms, you always have a little classroom leader that shows you where everything's at and how things are done. So it's a good resource to have in the classroom itself. Follow the procedures and directions outlined in the Emergency Operations Plan Quick Reference Guide. Wait for additional instructions from administration or law enforcement, and this is where the buddy system really comes into play, most especially if it's a brand new sub not knowing and needing direction. So I think it's one of the most important components that we share the wealth that we have there with a number of teachers and the information that they have. So when it comes to campus evacuations, we have 2 different types of evacuations. One is a building evacuation. The other is when we actually have to evacuate the campus in itself, the building, the campus. You may need to evacuate the building or campus at any time. In general, you should know your surroundings. Identify your primary and secondary building exit locations. Become familiar with your campus emergency plans. Understand your role during the building or campus evacuation plan. So what do we do when we're evacuating a building? Remain calm. Complete all assigned tasks, if any, relative to your campus evacuation plan. Take your class rosters with you. Exit the building by the most direct route and avoid danger. Inform others along the way. Assist visitors and if needed, people with special needs. In the event of a fire alarm, do not use the elevators unless instructed to do so by the emergency response personnel. Move at least 300 feet away from the building. Make your way to the predetermined assembly points for your class, office, and/or department. Do not re-enter the building until an all clear is given. Head counts. Individuals in leadership positions should account for students, staff, visitors that were under their immediate supervision at the time of the evacuation. So who's going to count our teachers, our counselors? Who's going to count our students? Who's going to count our paraprofessionals, our office staff, our cafeteria staff, our custodial staff, our aides, etc., to make sure that everybody's accounted for? Our administrators, who's counting who? And our visitors, those that actually checked in and signed in. Inform the individual in leadership if you suspect that someone did not exit the building. The individual in leadership should inform the emergency response personnel and the person's last known whereabouts. Evacuating the campus. Depending on the incident, on the circumstance, establish evacuation plans and routes may be changed to keep you safe and out of harm's way. If a campus evacuation is ordered, stay informed and listen to the evacuation instructions that will be provided to you through various emergency notification methods, which will provide information on assembly points for your class, office, or department. In the event that students and staff need to fully evacuate the campus, bus transportation will be provided to the Student Activity Center on Highway 277. That would be our meeting point, whether we're up on the stands on the home side, or in the Fine Arts Building, or in the auditorium there, in the basketball gym, so that we could have a coordinated effort to make sure, account for all of the individuals that are there with us, and then do our family reunification at that point, at that particular location. There's plenty of restrooms, there's air conditioner, there's plenty of water, and we could provide resources and, of course, a lot of parking so that we could go ahead and work it. Once again, we do have our safety cards, green and red. They're pretty self-explanatory. And then every campus, if you notice the back portion of the emergency plan, it'll be customized to show their campuses and to reflect their respective campuses in itself. So we feel that this is a very practical, hands-on product. We think it's very accessible. This was pretty much done with the old NIMS plan. There's also an I Love You Guys Foundation plan that is out there also. And there's also elements of the ALICE program that is out there as well. So we took what we felt was the best of all of those programs and developed something locally for us that would be practical, comprehensive, and something that we could use at all grade levels. So unless anybody has any questions, that's all the information I have.
Questions for Mr. Salinas?
Yes.
Well, comment and question. First, this is outstanding. We finally have something that's district-wide, which is what we've been looking for. So my hat's off to you and your committee. I think your committee should be recognized somewhere here for all that hard work that y'all did.
I'd like to thank Mr. Gonzalez because if he didn't give us this opportunity to get together and do these things, we'd probably still be fumbling through some of these emergency operations. And so thank you all as well.
So this is wonderful. I was just wondering if y'all had gone through any of these with any maybe high school students to kind of give you a little bit of feedback as to, like you say, you're still doing tweaks, which, I mean, I don't know that there's anything other than maybe some spelling things to work on. But other than that, there may be something that we could.
If you don't mind me sharing, Mr. Gonzalez? Go ahead. The general committee did have multiple meetings. Okay. Within that general committee, there were subcommittees. This happens to be the product of this particular subcommittee. Mr. Gonzalez did have a student committee sharing their point of view and what they felt that they needed in order for us to get a little direction in developing a product. Their input was also very much listened to in order to create this in itself. In fact, this committee did meet multiple times. I want to say that we had 6 meetings until we came up with this almost final draft. And thereafter, we presented to the general committee, and then there too got their opinions to see if everybody was comfortable with before we brought it to you all for view. And but it's quite inquisitive. You know, sometimes the best ideas come from students or people that see it from a different perspective. So it was quite interesting in that. And of course, their safety and their concerns were very much, I think, identified in the plan itself.
And lastly, I know you spoke, for example, in the hazardous materials. I know you said you're going to put this in the front of each in the entrance of each classroom.
Yes.
I don't know if maybe we can help and have a first aid kit there, the tape that you need, just kind of see what inexpensive materials we can have there handy just to grab in case they need that tape, the scissors, what have you, so that these are things that may be very inexpensive that are right there that they can grab and be practical.
Sure. I think a shower curtain, things like that just, they run a couple dollars, things like that. But we can make some recommendations.
But this is
so the
outstanding.
next step is to actually do the final draft, send it out to print, and then train our principals in regards to that. So we'll be meeting with our officers on Thursday, I believe, so that we could, or with Assistant Chief Inocencio, to kind of coordinate and see what we need to do in order to get the training going at the beginning of the school year. So the goal is so that every teacher, every classroom teacher has their emergency plan, that they've been trained. I'd like to thank Ms. Daniela Byrne as well. Ms. Byrne back here. She's also, she was working on some training videos that are authentically done by some of our students as well, and that'll be part of our training module. So she did film at an early childhood, so it would be conducive to early childhood at an elementary campus so that elementary students can see that's the way our elementary students are supposed to do a lockdown and the other different type of drills, and then our high school students as well. So we'll have a potpourri of training pieces to go along with this information so that our teachers are well trained and get a visual as to what is expected in some of these drills.
Anything else?
That's all I have, Ms. Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Salinas. And just a recommendation also, once we're doing the training, make sure that it is read just like you read it to us, because I think that's very important, that they're not just handed out and
we will certainly make sure that they take their time with that. So,
right.
So it'll be a good training.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. At this time, we'll continue with action items. Item number 1, consider and take appropriate action on the request to approve an easement to serve the Eagle Pass High School field house.
Yes, if we look at page 113 of your board book, you can see the 15-foot easement that is being asked of by AEP. And there's the field house, and then there's our property, then there's the lots, and then Bibb Avenue on the right-hand side. So,
You said high school, right?
yes.
So move.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor by Mr. Barrera to approve. Second by Dr. Alvarez. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. It is unanimous. Thank you. Item 2, consider and take appropriate action on the request to award seal proposal number 182005 on Student Activity Center Cross Country Trail, and the board delegates the superintendent or designee the authority to make related budget. All in favor, please raise your right hand. It is unanimous. Thank you. Then item 3, consider and take appropriate action on the request to award seal proposal 18210 related budgeted purchases of goods or services as per board policy CH. Motion by Mr. Bowles. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Martinez. Any questions or discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay, it is unanimous. Thank you. Consent item.